the auditorium, multiple victims. 16, I got 7 down in Theater 9. 7 down.
Copy, we'll notify fire. 7 down in Theater 9.
I've got a child victim. I need rescue at the back door of Theater 9 now. Inside of the theater is secure. We're bringing out bodies now. Get someone to the back as soon as you can. Rescue personnel. I got like 3 to 7 hits.
You know, can you imagine your kid goes out to see a movie at midnight? I don't care if your kid's 14 or 24. I mean, it's a nightmare. And there's a fella, I've been trying to find out what happened on the internet. They show this father who is searching for his 27-year-old son and can't find him. And he's hysterical. And we can all identify with that father. He's absolutely hysterical because it appears his son didn't make it. But, all right, here. I didn't pull up the call screen here. Can you give me a call to take, please? Mark, New Jersey, WABC, go.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Okay, thanks.
You know, in addition to the obvious effects of today's Colorado shootings, I'd like to suggest that this may be the end of wearing costumes to movies, the end of midnight movie premieres, and perhaps the start of some TSA-style pat-downs at your local theater. It wouldn't surprise me if the government tried to take advantage of this.
Well, we'll take, they're going to have to think long and hard before any of that's done. I'm going to tell you the way this worked, apparently, is the killer. Notice I haven't used his name. The killer purchased a ticket, went into the theater, opened the exit door, put something there to keep it open, then went out to his car, apparently, and got into his ninja uniform, and then came back in. So that's apparently how he did it. I don't know how you're ever going to stop something like that. There's really only one way, and that is if other people are armed and they deal with it. But in too many states and so forth, that's certainly most of our cities, that's not even something that's allowed to be discussed. All right, I'll be right back.
You choose this November, Ameritopia or America. Call Mark at 877-381-3811.
You know, being reported over at the Drudge Report that he was also struggling to find work and collecting unemployment. Probably snapped. Look, I don't know. We'll find out enough in the next day or several days ahead. But, you know, folks, I want to tell you something. We're a free country, less free than we were last year and the year before, but we're still a free country. That is, we're able to move around. We're able to go to the movies. We're able to go to sporting events and so forth. And horrific things happen. They really do. I said a couple of weeks ago, life is not just a series of pleasantries. Life is also a series of struggles. And sometimes things happen and they're unbearable. Like losing a child. I don't know how people cope. Unbearable. But what's the alternative? What kind of society is the alternative? Are we going to lock down the whole country? How are we going to do that? Lock down all the sporting events? Lock down all the theaters? Lock down all the different clubs and so forth? I mean, I don't know how you do that. And in the end, it still probably wouldn't work. Plus, what have you done? You've created a totalitarian society. Here's the president in part today. Cut one, go. Cut one, go. All right, they're working on it. There you go.
I'm sure that many of you who are parents here had the same reaction that I did when I heard this news. My daughters go to the movies. What if Malia and Sasha had been at the theater? As so many of our kids do.
I'm sorry, I have to stop it, not to make a political comment, but really, folks, if a president's kids are at the theater, the security is significant. They're not armed, but the Secret Service agents with them are armed. It's not exactly the same situation. I'm just making a point. I don't know why the president felt the need to bring that up, but he did. I mean, for the rest of us, they aren't protected like that. It's not a put-down. I'm just saying, when I heard it before, when I go over the list of the audio clip, I said, no, come on. That doesn't even make any sense. All right, go ahead, Mr. Producer.
I'll be fortunate enough to hug our girls a little tighter tonight, and I'm sure you will do the same with your children. But for those parents who may not be so lucky, we have to embrace them and let them know we will be there for them as a nation.
And he's right. And he's right. So the hounds on TV on the left who are pushing gun control, using this as another exploitive opportunity, cut it out. Give it a couple of days, will you? Show a little compassion, have a little heart. Mitt Romney in New Hampshire today, cut 2, go.
Our hearts break with the sadness of this unspeakable tragedy. Ann and I join the President and First Lady and all Americans in offering our deepest condolences for those whose lives were shattered in a few moments of evil in Colorado. I stand before you today not as a man running for office, but as a father and grandfather, a husband, an American. This is a time for each of us to look into our hearts and remember how much we love one another, and how much we love and how much we care for our great country. There's so much love and goodness in the heart of America. Today we feel not only a sense of grief, but perhaps also of helplessness. But there is something we can do. We can offer comfort to someone near us who is suffering or heavy laden, and we can mourn with those who mourn in Colorado. This morning, Colorado lost youthful voices which would have brightened their homes, enriched their schools, and brought joy to their families. Our prayer is that the Comforter might bring the peace to their souls that surpasses our understanding.
So, Obama and Romney are to be saluted for, I think, making excellent comments. I only brought up the other issue with respect to Obama because I thought it was odd. But as general, what he's trying to communicate generally, but they both are trying to communicate generally, are the same thing, and they're right. They're right. I remember sitting behind this microphone after the slaughter at Virginia Tech, after the slaughter at Fort Hood. We don't talk much about what took place in Tuscaloosa the other week, do we? All those people shot. I don't look forward to coming behind this microphone when these things happen because I'm not the best at communicating about these things. I try to do my best, but I'm not the best. I'm not a reverend. I'm not a priest. I'm not a rabbi. I'm just like you, struggling to understand. I have a number of friends who are Gold Star parents. I don't know what to say to these folks. I love them. I adore them. And they always thank me. Thank me for what? Thank you for remembering. Thank you for being there. And so let me pass that along to you. If you're there thinking about these folks, having it affect your life in some little way, praying for them, praying for these families, then you're thinking about them. Then you're there. Because these families, what they're going through, unless there's been a horrific tragedy in your life, we can't possibly comprehend it fully. Because it is a pain like no other, I'm sure. That's why these politicians and these operators who go on cable TV, 24 hours hasn't even passed. They look so little. They're so grotesque in so many ways. They don't understand America, and they don't understand Americans. That's why when Brian Ross and George Stephanopoulos, almost casually, trying to create some impression that there's some connection between the Tea Party and the murder based on nothing, was so outrageous, not just as a factual and journalistic matter, but as a human matter. Can you imagine hearing about this and the first thing you're doing, or the second or third thing you're doing, is trying to put a political veneer on it? What is that? That's cold, man. I'm telling you. That's really cold. That's why I can never respect these two, Stephanopoulos and Brian Ross. Then they realize people are disgusted by what they did. They also realize they happen to be wrong, and they put out an apology. Well, they can stick their apology. And so can all the people running around talking about gun control and some other political thing that they want to talk about. They can stick it too. They're irrelevant. They're irrelevant. And these politicians who look to exploit every tragedy, every event to empower themselves in the government, they're disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is why when you think back to the great speeches, the great speech FDR gave when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, the great speech Ronald Reagan gave, that tragic shuttle disaster, the great speech George Bush gave when we were hit on 9/11, and others. That's what you remember. Because those are American speeches. Not all these Lilliputians running around and trying to make the best political arguments they can. For what? For what? Now, what am I talking about with this Brian this Brian Ross on Good Morning America today? Well, you should hear it yourself. It's from our friends at Newsbusters. Cut 7, go.
Now, I want to go to Brian Ross here, because, Brian, you've been investigating the background of Jim Holmes, and you found something that might be significant.
There's a Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado page on the Colorado Tea Party site as well, talking about him joining the Tea Party last year. Now, we don't know if this is the same Jim Holmes, but it's Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado.
Oh, it's Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado. Now, we don't know if it's the same one, same name, and it's in Aurora, Colorado. What kind of crap is this? Turns out that Jim Holmes, who has an association with the Colorado Tea Party, is Hispanic and is in his 50s and has absolutely nothing to do with any of this, of course. Oh, we're sorry. We apologize. I mean, it's like one of these grotesque, phony phone calls. You know, in the middle of a tragedy. Except the people doing the call are Brian Ross and George Stephanopoulos. These guys are cold. Even, I'll tell you what, forget about the substance of what they're talking about. I want you to listen to the way they're talking about it. Like they're talking about the price of corn or oil going up. Okay? Just listen to how they do this. Cut 7, go.
I want to go to Brian Ross here, because, Brian, you've been investigating the background of Jim Holmes, and you found something that might be significant.
There is a Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado page on the Colorado Tea Party site as well, talking about him joining the Tea Party last year. Now, we don't know if this is the same Jim Holmes, but it's Jim Holmes of Aurora, Colorado.
Listen to that. This is cold stuff. And I'm going to tell you something else. His investigation, he went on a website. Look at that. And what website? He's